Hello my dear students. Now here today we are going to learn the next lesson, that is diversity in living organisms. Before this we learnt about the tissue lesson. Now diversity in living organisms. As you know, living organisms and non-living organisms, they are differentiated because of their characteristics. So living organisms are there, they are breathing, non-living are not breathing, they are not able to move from one place to another place. Like this some characteristics are there, and so because of that we divided that non-living organisms and living organisms. So in the diversity of living organisms are there. What is diversity in them? As we are observing, there are many variety or biodiversity is there. What is mean by biodiversity? Biological diversity means living organisms, varieties we are observing on the earth. And if here means in this lesson, that biodiversity, about that classification, about that diversity we are going to learn here. Here one by one, means about the plants and animals, which type of a living organisms present on the earth and what are the basis for that classification. Classification is necessary. Then what is the basis for classification and how it is taking place, or how they done the classification. And this classification is very much necessary, because one animal we are taking and going to do study means that much our life is not bigger one. As we have some whatever our age limit is there or lifespan is there, that in that lifespan we are learning about the living organisms, and there are millions of different living organisms are there, means from smaller one to the bigger one, higher animals, like from unicellular to the multicellular animals and plants varieties are there, and that all we are not able to learn in our lifespan one by one. So there is a classification is there. So how that classification is there, they done about that, first of all we are going to learn in this session. So there is some introductory part is there, about that here we are going to learn first. So here, as you know, we all are the human beings, and we all are not the same, we are not alike. Why? Means we have some differentiations because of the some genes are there, and so genes differentiations are there, and so in our or whatever your friend is there and you, in that similarities are there. Similarities are there. Which are the similarities? As you know that we are the human being, that characteristics are the different one. But if you are taking like a nose, eyes, hairs, height, about that some differentiation you are getting, and that difference is a smaller difference is there. Yes, in a human being, in ourselves, when we are finding, when we will see the differences, when we will look at that, observe that only the friend and you, that time small differences are there we are observing. But if we are taking their cow or bird instead of that your friend, it means you are getting a very less differentiation in that in between your friend and you. But there is a more big difference is there you are observing in the cow or bird and you. Means if you are taking a cow in you and that your you and the bird, here cow is there, in that more difference we are getting. Means there is that characteristics are there which we are observing here. It is a different one in the cow. There is a lot of differences we are observing. You heard about the Desi cow and Jersey cow. Is that here we have heard about that. Does Desi cow look like a Jersey cow? No, they are both are different one. Do all Desi cows look alike? No, they all not look alike. And we are able to identify, yes, we are able to identify Desi cow and Jersey cow here when they are mixing. Then what is the basis of identification? Then how we are identifying, means what is the basis of the identification is there? About that we are going to learn in this lesson, means the classification on which base they done. So here there is, we had decided which characteristics were more important in forming the desired category. Which characteristic is more important? As we learn, see in you and cow. There is a big difference is there, and so because of that characteristics we are observing, and then we are telling this is a human being and this is the animal, that is the domestic animal, it is a cow one. So hence we are also deciding which characteristics could be here ignoring. Some characteristics are there, that one ignoring, but big characteristics, more differences which are showing, we are not ignoring that one. Now there is a different forms of a life occur on the earth on one hand, and there are, as you know, there are the microscopic bacteria to the huge banyan trees are there, or fish is there which is living in the water. Means there are otherwise from smaller plants to the bigger plant like a banyan tree. Like this there are the huge varieties of the plants and animals are there. We are observing on the earth, and so here, and some have a lifespan more and some have a less. Like if we are taking a pine tree, thousands of years its lifespan is there, but if any insect is there like a mosquito, it lives or it will die within a few days. Life ranges from colorless, some have a very colorless life is there, means colorless, their color is a very colorless one is there, but some have a brightness, different colors we are observing. So here there is a life evolved on the earth over million years ago. We do not have a more than tiny fraction of a time as try to understand each living organism. That much time is not there, very small prime is there with us, and so in that to study a small one living organism, that much time is not there to us. Instead we look similarities among the organism which will allow us to put them into a different classes. Which are the similarities and which are the differences? In order to make a relevant groups to study the variety of life forms, we need to decide which characteristic decides more fundamental difference, more fundamental big differences which are there in that animals. So in order to that we are dividing, create fundamental differences among the organism. This would create a main broad group, and by that we are creating a main broader group of that here organisms. Within these groups there is again smaller groups, and that is again dividing, because as we are observing that monkeys are there, monkeys are in one group, but in that again gorilla, chimpanzee, common monkeys, like this there are many again different species we are observing. So that is a smaller group or subgroups we are again going to do. So here what is the basis of classification? As we know that Greek thinker, that is Aristotle is there. According to him, here there is the living organisms are there. They live on the land, in the air and in water also. And so this is a very simply way looking at a life. So by that also there is a differentiation, means but it is enough one that they are living on the land or in water and in air. But here it is a very simple way for looking like, but it is misleading too. For example, animals that live in the sea include, in the sea there are variety of animals like corals are there, whale is there, different fishes are there, octopus is there, starfishes are there. So like that there is a variety of the animals. They look alike same, similar to each other? No. So again in that differences we are observing, we can immediately see that are very different from each other numerous way. In numerous way they are different one. They are aquatic one, they are living in water, but also in them also there is a differences are there. So in fact their habitat is the only point they share in common. Only habitat is a common one. They are living in water or on the land. This is not an appropriate way for making the groups of organism to study and think about. This is not an appropriate way only. So here we therefore need to decide which characteristic is there to be used on the basis for making a broadcast division. We want to make a broadcast division, then here it is necessary we have to think which characteristics decide as a basis for the broadcasting division. Then we will have to pick the next characteristic, and after that means which basic characteristics is there for broadcasting, that making a division of that. So broadest division, making the broadest division, after that subgroups, and after that again smaller group. So subgroups within their division. This process of classification within each group is can continue using new characteristic each time. Each time we are going to find out a new characteristics. If means like a plants are there. Plant is a common means it is a broad, or here it is nothing but the characteristics which is a very different one than the animals. So plants it is a one group and animals is another group. So this is the broader one classification. Again in that subgroups are there. In the plants again we are getting many varieties are there, and in animals also, as we know that like birds are there, otherwise the animals are there which are like birds are there, otherwise there are reptiles are there, amphibians are there, mammals are there, like this again groups are there, means broader, and in that again we are dividing and smaller groups characteristics we are going to find out. Before we go on, we need to think about what is meant by characteristics. So here when we are trying to classify diverse group of organism, we need to find out the ways in which some of them similar through here enough to be together. These ways can impact the details appearance or behavior. So what is the characteristic then? What is meant by characteristic is it is nothing but a characteristic is a particular form or a particular function. What is characteristic? What is our characteristic? So particular form or a function. Mammals are there, otherwise birds. Birds characteristics, they are flying, so they are the birds, means that is the one. It is nothing but the particular form or particular function of that organism. That is the most means here characteristics that which have we have 5 fingers for each hand it is there. So here it is one of the characteristics that we can run, but the banyan tree is there, otherwise any other tree is there, not able to run. That is also one characteristic is there. Now, to understand some of the characteristics are decided being more fundamental than the others. Some characteristics are more fundamental, that I told, like plants are totally different than the animals. Let us consider how a stone wall built. Stone wall is a building, big stones are there at the lower layer, and above that smaller one they are going to use. The stones will have different shapes and size. The stones at the top of the wall not influence the choice of the stones that come below them. So on the other hand, the shape and size stones in the lowermost layer will decide the shape and size of the next layer. What is the shape and size of the lower layer is there? It will decide to the higher level, upper layer, which type of a stones will come. So the stones in the lowermost layer are like a characteristic that is the broadcast division among the living organism. So here there is a stones in the lowermost layer is there, here are like the characteristic. They are comparing here one stone wall we are building, how there is a lowermost layer is important, which type of stones we are using, like that characteristics that decide the broadest division among living organism. They are independent of any other characteristics and their effects in the form of a function of organism. So the characteristic is the next level would be depend on the previous one. So first one characteristic is what? Depend on that next characteristic we are going to take. If they are the animals, yes, it means they are animals. Now in the animals, they are the like birds are there, otherwise reptiles are there, aves are there, so or fishes are there. Means birds are there, they are living on the land, but fishes are there, they are aquatic one living in the water, or human being, I mean they are the mammals. So like this, again it is deciding the here it depend or it decide the next level of the classification. The characteristic is the next level would be depend on the previous one, and it will depend on the previous one because all animals are there coming in the one group only. So here decide a variety of next level. In this way we can build up whole hierarchy. Hierarchy means stepwise. So of mutually related characteristic to be used for classification. Nowadays we look at many interrelated characteristics starting from the here nature of the cell in order to classify all living organism. So here as you know we learnt about the interrelated characteristics starting from the nature of the cell. How the cell is there, they are made up of a single cell or here they are made up of many cells, that is the basic characteristics. Concrete examples, what are some concrete examples of characteristics used in a hierarchy of a classification? So first of all we are going to learn about the cell. So they are the prokaryotic and eukaryotic cell. So if we are taking a cell, in the cell that is a prokaryotic or eukaryotic. So prokaryotic is there, means they have not a definite nucleus, like a bacteria. If we are taking definite nucleus is there, it is not present for them in the bacteria. So they are called as a prokaryote. They are made up of a cell only, but it has not a definite nucleus and nuclear membrane. But here there is a, in the eukaryotic they have definite, there is a definite nucleus and nuclear membrane is present. A eukaryotic cell has a membrane bound organelles. All are there in the eukaryotic cell, membrane bound organelle. Membrane is present for the all organelles. So that are the eukaryotic cells are there in them. So which allow cellular processes to be carried out efficiently in isolation from each other. So therefore organisms which do not have a clearly demarcated nucleus and the other organelles would need to have their biochemical pathways organized in very different way. This would have affect every aspect of a cell design. Here definite nucleus, nuclear membrane and membrane bound organelles are present, and here there is a function is there, it is going to take place with biochemical pathways organized in a different way by the organelles. This would have an effect of every aspect of a cell design. So further, nucleated cells would have a capacity to participate in making a multicellular organism, and so because they can take up a specialized function, they have a, in the, how they are melting there, and they have a specialized functions are there for each organism. There is a cell, so they can take up a specialized function. Therefore this is the basis of a characteristic of a classification. So the cell is there, it is a prokaryotic or eukaryotic, it is a basis of a characteristic of classification. Do the cells occur singly, or they are grouped, or do they live together to form a single organism? So as a unicellular, and next characteristic is there, or next basis is there, that is a unicellular and multicellular. So the organism is there, that is single celled or many celled. Cells that are grouped together to form a single organism is there. Cells are combined together, they make a multicellular one. So like amoeba, bacteria, they are the unicellular one, but many higher animals are there or plants are there, they are the multicellulars. So in such a body design, all cells would not be identical. So here instead, groups of a cell will carry out special. All cells are not similar. If multicellular organism is there in our body, all cells are not similar. You learnt in the about the tissue lesson. In that there are different type of tissues are there, and that cells combine to form a tissue, and how that cells are there. About that also you learn. So these cells are there, carry out their specialized functions. Instead of cells will carry out their different functions. This makes a very basic distinction in the body design of organism. Unlike nervous system is there and muscular system. Muscles are different than the nerves. Nerves are nothing but giving response for the stimuli. Muscles are there, it will help for the working, they are attached for the bones, and as there is a voluntary and involuntary muscles, muscular tissues are there. So how they are deeper in each other, about that also you learnt, and so their body design of organism may more and more making it a complex one. As a result, amoeba and worm are very different in their body design. So worm is a multicellular, but amoeba is a unicellular, and so their body design is a different one, because amoeba is a unicellular, one only single cell makes all function. It is a simple one body design, simple one structure, and functions are there. But if we are learning about the multicellular like a worm, so if we are taking example here, it is a complex, means not like a human being body is there, very complex one. But compared to the amoeba, it is a multicellular organism, and it has a different body design, means cells combine to form a tissue there, and that tissue combine to form organ, and that organs are there in that organ system, so will form, and here there is they are working, and so here organism that perform a photosynthesis, which here what is the level of organism of their body. And so next one is there like a unicellular, multicellular role. Now about the photosynthesis, as the plants are preparing their own food but animals are not, and so there is the organisms are here differentiating, that is also with the help of the photosynthesis, autotroph or heterotroph. So photosynthesis, they are preparing their own food, that is autotrophs. Heterotrophs, they are depend for the other organisms for their food. Of the animals, how does the individuals of the body develop and organize its different parts? What are the specialized organs for the different functions? So as you know, in the animal there is the different organs are there and they will perform a different functions. Like a heart is there, circulation is there, it is taking place. Otherwise, if we will take a kidney, there is a excretory system is there. So we can see that even these few questions that we have asked, hierarchy is developing. So the characteristics of a body design used for classification of the plant will be very different from important of classifying animals. Classification of the characteristics of the body design used for classification of a plant. Plant classification is there, it is very different than the animals. This is because basic design is different. In the plant, basic design and in animal, they both are the different one, and so that characteristics which using here for the body design is a different one, and so it is a different one. Classification of plant will be different one than the important one than the for classifying the animals. It is based on the need to make their own food. So plants classification is there, it is based on the preparing their own food, and animals are there acquiring, they depend on the other animals. So therefore these design features having a skeleton, like here animals are there, they are based on the skeleton is present or not in them, are used for making a subgroup rather than making the broader groups. Classification and evolution. So next is there, that is the classification and evolution. What is a classification and evolution? So here all living organisms are identified and categorized on the basis of a body design. How their body design is there, on basis of that there is they categorize in form and function. So some characteristics are likely to make a wide ranging changes in the body. So here these are the role of the time as well. So once certain body designs are there come into existence, and there is it will be shape the effect of all subsequent design changes simply because it already exists. In other words, characteristics that came into existence earlier are likely to be more basic than the characteristics that have common into the existence later. Means when there is a organism came on the earth, there is a which type of a body design existence earlier, which characteristics is the existence earlierly it is present in that animal. This means that classification of a life forms will be closely related to their evolution, because there is a evolution taken place. And so here which characteristics is there, it is a present came into existence earlier. That is also important, because there are many evolutionary changes in that animals are it is taking place. So the classification of a life form is there, it is when they are classifying there it is relating to the evolution. Then what is the evolution? The changes in the life forms of that organism. Most life forms that we have today arisen by accumulation of changes in a body design that allow the organism possessing them to survive better. So change in the organisms of body design. What is evolution? Evolution is there, that is change in the means the organism came on the earth, and in that organism there is a body design is changed because they want to adjust in that environment, they want to survive in that environment. So here there is a changes. Most life forms we have today arisen by the accumulation of the changes in the body design to allow that organism possessing them to survive better. So if we want to survive better, there is a change in the body design is there. When there is we are surviving, we want to survive. There is some of the adjustment we are going to, means evolution is there. That is nothing but our body is there adjusting for that environment, and so that is evolving, or that are the some body designs are there, changes in our body. So organism possessing them. So Charles Darwin first decided the idea of evolution in 1859. Charles Darwin gave his idea, that is the origin of the species. He written the book in that he gave the idea of the evolution, how evolution is there, it is taking place about that. When we connect the idea of evolution of classification, we will find out the group of organisms which have ancient body design that have not changed very much. So here we are in this Charles Darwin, he written about the book The Origin of the Species in 1859. When we connect for that idea of evolution, when we are here to the classification, idea of evolution and classification both are related. We will find some here some groups of organisms which have an ancient body design that have not changed very much. That much changes are not taken place. So here means whatever there are the before evolution in that body design, what that classification gave, in that there are body design is there, that much changes are not taken place. So we will have also find out the other group of organisms that have acquired their particular body design relatively recently. So some organisms are there recently, they got their some body changes and acquired that body designs. So other group of organisms that acquired their particular body design. So those first group are frequently referred are the primitive or lower organism, while those second group are called as advanced or higher. Primitive organism like a bacteria, amoeba, primitive one, they came on the earth first. So they are called as a primitive or lower organisms. And here there is the second group is there, it is called as advanced group of organism, or it is called as a higher group of organisms. So here classification and evolution both are related, because organisms all at a time not came on the earth. There is some unicellular organism, blue-green algae came on the earth, after that bacteria, like this slowly there is organisms stepwise they are evolved, and so there is there is a unicellular variety and multicellular again different variety. These are the slow changes, evolution not sudden changes are there. It is a very slow change, slow and gradual process it is there, and so because of that the organism which came on the earth first, their body design whatever it is there, so that is a evolution, and it is when comparing to the now today in that organism that not so many changes, but evolved animals are there, we got different animals. So the first organisms which are present that are called as lower organisms or primitive organisms, and next are there that is advanced or higher organisms. The terms not quite here, in reality these terms are not quite correct, since they do not properly relate to the differences. All that we can see the some other older organism while younger organisms. So commonly we are telling like older and younger organisms also. Since there will be a possibility that a complex in a design will increase over a evolutionary time. They are the simpler one. Simple body design is there, primitive organism or lower organism. If they are the primitive one or also called as a lower organism, they have a simple body design is there. But if we are taking a advanced group of organism, here they are called as a higher organisms. So they are nothing but higher organism, and their body design is there. It is a complex body design. See, advanced, higher, complex, primitive, lower, simple one body design is there. Since there is a possibility that complexity of a body design will increase over evolutionary time. How evolution in them taking place? Like that complexity goes on increasing in the organism's body, and so there is the possibility of a complexity in body design increased, more and more complex animal is formed. As we are also, or our forefather, our ancestors are monkey. How many changes in our bodies are there when we are comparing ourselves with a monkey? So there is, means more and more complex bodies are there, they are forming here. It may not be wrong to say that older organisms are the simpler one and the younger organisms are the complex, as I have written here. Which are the older one? These are the also called as a older organisms, and these are called as a here younger organisms. So if there is a, we are not means we are commonly we are telling that older organisms are simpler one and younger organisms are the complex one. So here this is about the classification or basis of the classification, about that, and also classification and evolution, how they both are related. In the next session we are going to learn about the hierarchy of the classification of the group, about that, and so about the plants, animals and the other organisms which are present on the earth, about that we are going to learn here in this lesson. So this is the basic one, introduction is there for this lesson, and about the classification, characteristics and evolution. So thank you.